Distinct among saints, Paul Vanderklay, the uh, the the foundation of randos, uh, conversations with randos, and the attempt to scale it. Um, Bald Santa himself. He put out a video. I haven't even watched it, but the title kind of provoked me because of a like um, I don't know. You can call it whatever. I was running and I run and I talk. But the question, let's go. What's the question? I felt like Mr. Rogers. I need to put on a jacket. Do 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 do. It's just a prop. It's just a prop. A nice shirt. Um, he asked, "Do our beliefs overcome the influences of our religious and cultural containers?" Well, the answer for me may be different than your answer, but for me, my answer is no. Um, my answer is no. And I thought about many things in relation to the question, but ultimately, uh, I think the example I'll give is that my father, he had his own religion. He called it Tarzanism. He was the only member of his religion, and he had his own rules. So one of his rules was when you take a shower, don't get water on the carpet in the bathroom. Carpet in the bathroom is kind of strange, right? But it's the way it was. And so you take your shower and then you get your towel and you dry off in the shower. You dry off and then you just dry off your feet and you can step out and you dry off your other foot and you step out and there's no water, right? And then you got to hang your towel up, right? Because you don't want it to mold. And this was his religion. And he also had rules about putting your feet on the couch or putting your feet on the sheet that covered the couch that came out of the dumpster, which is a funny story. There's a way to tell it that's very funny. And another one was like, don't get sand in the truck that came off your feet from when you were right on the beach because we pulled the truck out onto the beach and drove on the beach. I mean, you weren't allowed, we would be camping on the beach with a truck on the beach, and there was supposed to be no sand in the truck. And so he had like a spray bottle with water, and he showed us you know, how to do it. What's the best way to not get sand in the truck? So I got raised by this Tarzanist who it was his perfect religion. He was the only member of his perfect religion, and so that was you know, that's what I think of when I think about a container, a religious cultural container that was given to me, and it really the it became potent to me one time when I was watching my kids take a bath, and they were splashing and playing and laughing, and the water was landing on the floor, and I was getting very stressed, anxious, stressed out about it, and I had to step out of the bathroom, I had to breathe. I talked to Kim. It's like, and it's something I realized it was something my father had given to me as a part of the religion and culture that he had invented and put on me. And, uh, and so I had to identify the container. You could call that chains, you could call it strongholds, you can call it whatever. You had to identify it. And then I had to reject it and I have reasons to reject it. It's like I don't want to ruin this experience for my children, fun, joy, play experience. And I couldn't do anything about it. I tried breathing, thought I was a master of my own mind, and so like I had beliefs. And my beliefs were different than my father's beliefs, but what I had to do is I had to pray and then I was freed from that stronghold, from those chains, from that container, from that prison. that was given to me by my father. He had his reasons. In fact, uh, there's a story that would validate my father's rule, is that Kim and I were downstairs, and all of a sudden we heard drip, 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 and we look up, and there's like this wet spot on the ceiling. There's water dripping off our ceiling. Turns out the kids are playing upstairs in the bathroom, and water had leaked on the outside of the bathtub down under the floor into through that insulation. I don't even, maybe there's no insulation, but down into the drywall and was leaking. And I could take a camera. I could go take a picture of it. It's still, there's a water damage there that I have not fixed. Um, and we got onto them, tone it down a little bit. And then I caulked the perimeter of the tub so it wouldn't happen again. Water damage is it's not great. And honestly, my my response and how I responded to my father and my relationship with the water on the bathroom floor is probably different than my brother. And so, you know, I was I was made a certain way, and I was made different than my brother. And then we both were in an environment where we were had this kind of we were the container was imposed on us. The culture, religion of my father was imposed on my brother and I, and we responded to it in different ways. So my belief, my belief did nothing. Uh, well, I mean, it may have been the first step, right? So identifying, you know, I formed a belief that my father's religion was an error, but it still uh, gave me anxiety, and uh, I was not free from it. And I think there's a lot of things like that. I think I still have many more things, many more containers, strongholds, chains, as a result of how God made me and what I experienced in life. And um, there's some way in which God can show me and allow me to see, and then do something like a repent, like a reject, and move toward what looks like the better. And then, a prayer for help sometimes is needed. And then those prayers, I've had this happen. I've had some strongholds, more than one kind of, I was freed from more than one container, stronghold, prison, chain, and there's more to go. But the answer to the prayer can come in different forms as well. Like sometimes it's immediately, and then sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not. And then sometimes the thing that was immediate might resurface months or over a year later. Like, why is this back? I hadn't seen you in a while. So there's something about a relationship with the one that can answer the prayer, that can help, the helper, which is different than a belief. For me, the beliefs are just something like, the Holy Spirit can show me, and then I can see that something about better or worse, good and bad, but that still doesn't fix me. It doesn't mean that, I'm healed. Doesn't mean I'm free. Just means I can analytically see that something's good, even if I can't have it. So, yeah, I guess what does it mean to overcome? So, if all you care about is the right propositions, then yes, the belief can overcome the wrong propositions. But um, those 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 wrong beliefs can get inside you, give you things like bitterness, resentment, fear, anger, distrust. I mean, they might all be fear, but yeah. So, did you overcome the fear? Did you? Yeah, you might overcome a wrong view, but did you overcome the wrong way of being? Did you get healed? Like, what does it mean to overcome? Did I take my father's containers and impose it on my children? I mean, sometimes I have, unavoidably. Maybe I even regret that I did it sometimes, and I've repented since then and apologized. But and you know, maybe not all of them were bad, right? One of the ways of my father was about grocery shopping in a grocery store. Uh, you don't put your cart in the middle of the way, the middle of the path. Another way this generalizes when we were in the woods, he'd say, "Don't shit on the path," you know. And there's people in grocery stores that will just park in the middle of an aisle and block everybody. There's ways to block three paths at the same time. And he would get angry about it. That's what I observed, and I've gotten angry about it. But now, I saw it the other day. I was with my son, and I'm like, my father, he would say something. He taught me not to do that, and I don't think you should do it. I agree with him. Um, but mercy's good. That's a like my father's religion did not have a lot of mercy, and so neither did I for a long time. And so mercy has been a gift. Um, it's been provided by the grace of God that somehow there can be mercy. Um, I would say all the good ones, it's just they're all gifts that you can ask for, and sometimes they happen, sometimes they happen more slowly. It's a bit mysterious. So that's it. That's it. I hope that helped.